Hey guys, my name is Matimo, and today I am thrilled to say that the classic Battlefield 2 map, Dragon Valley, is now available for testing on the CTE for Battlefield 4. I have been blown away by this map. I went into it really hesitant. This was one of my favorite maps back in Battlefield 2, and I was worried that it wasn't gonna make the transition into the Frostbite engine, and I was hesitant that it wasn't gonna be very good for Battlefield 4. My worries were not justified whatsoever. I have been really impressed by what DICE has delivered on so far. One of the things that has really stuck out to me about this map is that it seems like DICE has gone all out in creating new types of buildings and assets for Dragon Valley. I was not expecting a gigantic Chinese temple in the middle of the map. It looks incredible, by the way. If you can't tell, it just looks fantastic. It is completely unique to everything else we've seen in Battlefield 4, and that same theme can be applied to basically every section of this map. You mosey on over to one of these side objectives, not the central capture points, and you're gonna see a new type of wall. You're gonna see new buildings. And while sure they reuse some assets here and there are a few buildings that you're gonna recognize from old Battlefield maps. Just the fact that they've added in a wide array of different types of buildings, it really makes this map feel unique and distinctive, and it doesn't just seem like they just kind of slap this thing together at the last second and say, hey, have fun, this kind of resembles Dragon Valley. No, they put in the time, they put in the effort, and it shows because this map looks incredible. One thing I have to mention, and I was not expecting whatsoever, is that you can now use your repair torch to repair a destroyed bridge. You heard me right. The repair torch is no longer going to be just for vehicles. If there's a rubbled bridge and you need to get a bunch of your vehicles to push up on over to an objective, but there's this ruined bridge in front of you, you can mosey on over, click on the bridge with your repair torch, and all of a sudden it will look like time's reversed and it will assemble the bridge right in front of your eyes. The first time I saw it, I giggled like a little schoolgirl. I could not stop laughing because not only does it look amazing, but it also adds in some really cool gameplay mechanics. I would love if they took this same concept and applied it to other aspects of the game. I'm not saying we should be able to repair downed walls. We shouldn't be able to construct walls in front of us, but how cool would it be to maybe repair bollards or sandbags? Certain objects on the battlefield where normally they can be destroyed, but if you come on over with an engineer, if you would like to be able to repair this cover, give yourself some sort of advantage, then you would have that option. That would be really cool. Regardless, this is a very cool concept. I was very surprised when they added it on in. It was back in Battlefield 2, but I just wasn't expecting it. We haven't seen it in any other map in Battlefield 4. We hadn't seen it back in Battlefield 3. And so the simple fact that they have added back in this mechanic has been a joy so far. Another thing you're gonna notice very quickly is that this map is gigantic. I don't know if it's the biggest map in Battlefield 4 because it is quite narrow, but to give you an idea of how large this thing is, there's 7 objectives. I think every large conquest map in the game only goes up to 6. To get from one side of the map to the other as an infantry unit is gonna take you a good 3 to 4, maybe even 5 minutes just to get from one side to the other. It's crazy how big this thing is. And so going into it, I was a little worried that there wasn't going to be much infantry gameplay. It's nice when large conquest maps, clearly this is going to be very vehicle-centric, but it's nice when they're able to accommodate a section of the map that allows for that type of gameplay. Some people just don't like to play in vehicles, and when new content comes out, they still want to enjoy it, and I'm happy to say that DICE has done a very good job of making sure that that type of playstyle is accommodated for. Basically, if you're an infantry player, that's all you want to do, but you still want to enjoy this content, then you're going to be fighting over that central temple. That's going to be your home base, and then bouncing between all of the other objectives that are kind of surrounding that. It works out really well. Another thing I have to commend DICE on is that they've done a good job of restructuring the map so that you can actually move around and not just get sniped at constantly by not only recons, but also the numerous vehicles that you're going to encounter. One of the things about the Battlefield 2 map is that the draw distance wasn't as insane as it is right now in Battlefield 4. If you're on one side of the map in a helicopter, you can see the helicopter on the other side of the map. That wasn't the case back in Battlefield 2. It really just came down down to the limitations of the engine. They couldn't render the entire map in front of you, and so you had this limited draw distance. The result of this is that you could sneak around in this fog of war outside of your enemy's view distance and go capture side objectives. Like, that was one of the main reasons why Dragon's Valley was as successful as it was, because if you did have the same draw distance that we have right now in Battlefield 4, since it was a very flat map, or relatively flat, you would get sniped across the map continuously, and of course that would lead to awful gameplay. And so what you're going to notice is that there's a lot more elevation changes. There's hillsides, there's going to be a lot of trees, a lot of foliage everywhere, and that's just to break up the line of sight so that when you do try to mosey on over to another objective, you're not getting hit from 1,000 different angles, which probably would have been the case if they left it exactly the same way that it was back in Battlefield 2. And so overall, if you can't tell, I have been impressed by this version of Dragon's Valley. It still has a few problems here and there. This, of course, is on the test servers. It's not 100% perfect. There were a few spawn points that were a head scratcher where you spawned like 2 feet away from the enemy, but I'm sure that's going to be fixed in the next couple of weeks and when they're working on it. But just in general, I've had an absurd amount of nostalgia. I love the mechanic of being able to repair a bridge, bring it back to full health. It's just overall, I have been overwhelmed by how amazing this map plays so far. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's first look at Dragon Valley. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on this map. Are you as impressed as I am? Are you a little disappointed that it is as large as it is? You don't remember it being this large and you would rather it be more focused on infantry-based gameplay? Or are you absolutely loving that tank combat? Let me know down below. But yeah, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.